Welcome to Consulting Mastery, where we help B2B consultants master the business of consulting. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Ahmed. Join us as we explore the art of delivering outstanding client value, earning a higher income, and thriving in today's marketplace.
So as a consultant, I'm curious to know, who are your most important partners?
So when you think about it, there's a couple of ways to get into the client's organization. There's the front door that's going directly to the client's organization, the buyer personas you want to be targeting, striking up relationships with them, whether you get introduced by whoever it may be, but going in directly, right? Front door, through the receptionist, etc., right? And that's the most common path, and it's an important path and one that you shouldn't neglect. But there's also the side door entrance. There's the person that's already in the building. They've got a pass, right? They come and go as they please. And they go, hey, there's a side door entrance here. We can skip, the reception and all the formalities that come with that. Just come in the side door. I'll open it for you. And they get you in, and they swoop you right into the boardroom that you want to be in, right in front of your decision makers. And for any consultant in any market, the opportunity to build a network of strategic partnerships is a considerable opportunity, for the simple reason that all the clients that you want to work with already have some pre-existing relationships, whether that's with other consulting firms, other complementary professional service providers, other entities altogether that are not consulting or service-oriented, software companies, for example. Think of the entirety of the list of vendors that the clients that you want are currently working with, the vast majority of whom are not competitive with you. And in fact, in many cases, your work would complement theirs quite nicely. And they have the relationships that you don't have. How much more efficient would it be to pursue those relationships and come in the side door? Now, I'm not advocating for side door over front door. In our flagship program, 90-Day Pipeline, we're doing both. In 90% of cases, we're doing both. Front door and side door, they complement each other very well.
So let's talk about what makes a good strategic partnership, because there's the kind of the old networking shtick, right? Do you know somebody you can introduce me to? Do you know somebody you can introduce me to? And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a very specific thing, right? A very specific way to connect yourself to those people that have those relationships in a way that isn't just about you. And so, I think maybe that's the first thing to talk about, is that a really beneficial strategic partnership that is going to result in you getting in front of decision makers and ultimately, earning additional business, is not just going to be beneficial to you. If it is, not a partnership. So this is really about, again, stepping out of we talk about this often, right? This kind of scarcity-based, what do I need out of this transaction stance, and think about, okay, what's a relationship that if I built it and nurtured it and really approached it in a thoughtful way, is going to, yes, benefit me and my business, but also benefit the person with whom I'm connecting.
It's funny. I got a LinkedIn message recently. They're always funny, right? And it said, can I get your permission to ask for an introduction? I have no idea who this person is that's messaging me. Completely unknown. And it's comical, right? Like, no, you can't get my permission because I don't know you. Why would I introduce you? An introduction presumes a level of trust.
Yes.
Now, even still, let's say I knew you. Okay. Well, how do I know you? I worked with you in the past. We've done some work together. You assume that I trust your professional qualifications. I mean, it depends on who I'm introducing you to, right? If those relationships are important to me, I'm going to think twice before making any introductions, even if I personally like you. That's a far cry from I'm going to put my relationships on the line to endorse you. So to your point, these kinds of very casual, get an introduction here and there from a warm network of people who know they can trust you, they only go so far, because actually that introduction, although we minimize it, it's a serious thing for the person making the introduction. It's a transference of trust. It's me telling the people that trust me that they should trust you as well. And even though I might trust you in some circumstances, I might not be comfortable making that case for somebody else, right? Especially when the relationships are otherwise important to me, they're clients of mine, etc. And so, the highest form of a partnership or referral relationship is what we call value enhancement. A value enhancing relationship is one where my work is not only non-competitive with yours, not only complements yours, but enhances your value creation. So the work that you do with clients is better, it's more effective, the outcomes are stronger, the results are more compelling through the work that I do. So let's use a simple example. And it's a real one that we've seen a few times actually among our clients. Companies are merging. One company X is buying company Y. Okay, and there's a post merger integration consulting firm that's managing the acquisition, and they're concerned about technology integration. They're concerned about the leadership team. They're concerned about certainly the financial impact. They're concerned about all these things, and they're managing it. And I am a acquisition culture consultant. I specialize in merging the cultures of the two entities that are combining forces. And I make my case to this M&A consulting firm that, if the cultures clash, doesn't matter if the technology gets integrated. Doesn't matter if, you build an org chart. If there's a serious clash of cultures, your integration at large is going to be suboptimal at best and a disaster at worst. And you will not realize the financial gains that you're looking to realize. That's a real offer, by the way. People do this. And it makes a lot of sense, right? So if I'm that M&A consulting firm that's been tasked with managing this merger, well, we don't have anybody on our team that can handle the culture piece. The culture piece, we can see how that's kind of a force multiplier. Like that can enhance all of our outcomes. Makes good sense. Now, there's obviously details in terms of how we're going to do it. What are we going to pay you? What are we going to charge a client? Those are the details you can work out in every relationship. But if there is a fundamental value enhancement there, that your work enhances the value of your partner's work, now it's not just hey, I want you to meet so-and-so, you might be interested in their work. It's them bringing you to the table and saying, this needs to happen. We stand behind it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that just to layer on top of that is really interesting is recognizing that it's also quite possibly going to help both of you enter into contracts that you wouldn't have before. So, you talk about it from someone who's already tasked with that exercise. What if they're not quite there yet? But when they're at the table, they can say, you know what? I also know this M&A culture consultant. So we can provide between us the full range of everything you need to make this a resounding success. So, it's benefiting both of you because it's increasing the effectiveness, like the impact of what you're doing, but also, quite frankly, opening doors that weren't open before.
Yeah, they're pitching to a prospect, and the prospect says, well, what are you going to do about culture? What if our cultures clash? And you're thinking, I don't know. Right? But I just met somebody who actually does this exact thing, right? Maybe there's someone that we can pull into the deal.
Yeah.
There's a couple of significant advantages to this strategy. And again, not instead of pursuing clients directly, but in addition to. The first is the folks who are on the inside, they know when the time is right to bring you in. And that's such a big challenge when it comes to any form of marketing and business development is when's the right time. And when you have people on the inside who are already dealing with the client, know their circumstances, know their challenges, know what they're going through, know things that are not going to get published on LinkedIn anytime soon, right? They got their ear to the ground and they know who you are. They know what you do. They know where you can step in. And when the time is right for you to step in, they bring you in when the time is perfect. And they say to the client, well, I've got somebody who can help with this. Let me bring them in. And then your close rate goes through the roof because it's been served up in a silver platter at precisely the right time. And secondly, volume of relationships is a major advantage. If you have a strategic partner that sends you, one client per quarter, for example, and that's a good rule of thumb in our world, is we like partners who are sending you about a client a quarter. Anything less than that is probably too infrequent for you to be top of mind. And let's say you need 10 clients on the year, you really only need a couple of good partners to hit your goals. And if it's 20 clients a year, 4 or 5 partners versus having to go and create 20 different relationships with end user clients. And again, in the end, it's usually a mix of both. But what we find is that strategic partnership relationships scale a lot better because it's one relationship that yields multiple client opportunities.
So this all sounds amazing. Everyone wants them. Question is how to find them, right? Because you may be in a scenario where you already know the people, and as you're listening to us, you're making a list of half a dozen folks that you want to reach out to because maybe you just haven't thought about them in this way. But there's also the scenario where you're like, oh yeah, that'd be great, but you don't know who those people are right now. So my question to you then is, how do I find these miracle worker partners that are going to support me in this way?
So you need to think about who your client is otherwise interacting with or transacting with. So good question to ask is, when you think about your client and the work they do with you, who else are they transacting with before their transaction with you, during their transaction or engagement with you, and after their engagement with you? Now, this is not to say that all of the people on your list are going to be good candidates for partners, but it will help you generate a list of potential opportunities, right? Who's doing work beforehand, who's doing work during, who's doing work after. That's going to give you, and don't just think about what's related necessarily to your service area, think more broadly than that. That's going to give you a potentially long list of, partner personas, buyer personas. There's also partner personas for you to pursue and vet and engage to see where the opportunities lie. In most cases, there's 1 or 2 personas that are going to make a really big impact because of the value enhancement between your service and theirs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's a bit of an intangible here as well, which is the best partners tend to have a like-mindedness, because this can sometimes look really good on paper, but not really come to fruition because you want to be partnered with someone when you're both excited about each other's work. And not just the kind of work, but how you bring it to the table, what that looks like. And this goes back to your comment earlier about trust. And so it may mean sometimes going a little bit more broad in terms of, what they're doing in the organization so that you can take advantage of, their mindset, their belief around what you do, the tone that they're walking into that organization with. And so, all that, I think, just to say, when you're pulling your list together, you want to think about all of the specific ways that a partnership is built, and connect yourself with people for whom this isn't going to feel like work, right? For whom your name coming up in conversation just makes sense because they understand what you do, they believe in it, they can make connections between what the organization needs and what you can bring to the table. And of course, you want to find yourself in the same position on the other side of that partnership as well.
Yeah, I think it also underscores the importance of positioning, right? So please don't think that this absolves you of the responsibility to position your expertise, because why should they partner with you becomes a question. What do you have that we don't have?
Mm-hmm.
And anybody any kind of astute partner is going to think, well, could we do this on our own? Because certainly bringing you on as a partner, it does add a layer of complexity. It's another person involved that we have to introduce to our client or work with potentially, on the back end. Either way, it's another layer that we need to process. Could we do it on our own? And if they're seriously entertaining that question, you're probably not positioned well or clear enough about your positioning, and it's not going to be true for everybody. Some people will think they can do it on their own and will fail miserably, and that's fine, right? But we want to be positioned well enough that a good chunk of that partner market will look at you and go, we don't have that. We see the relevance in it. We see the value that it creates for our clients and our service, and we're not going to build that in-house. So if you got it, let's do business.
So if you're speaking to a consultant that currently has no strategic partners in the way that we're defining it today, what is their path from here to there?
Number one, build a list of targets, partner personas, if you want to call them that, right? So think about who's working with my client before, during, and after their work with me. Build a list of personas. Choose to prioritize 1 to 3 of those personas. You can't pursue all of them at the same time. So prioritize your top 1 to 3 where you think the value enhancement is most significant. Bonus points if you've already gotten referrals from any one of those personas. It's a great place to start. Is to look at, organically, where am I getting referrals from? Everyone's getting some form of referral. And if there are some organic referrals coming in, look at those personas first, because you can reverse engineer that strategy and make it more compelling and stronger. Then build out a strategy to pursue those partners and open up conversations with them. Have the conversations, vet and qualify who actually is a good fit to work with you, right? And has that alignment with you, both in terms of the service offerings, the value enhancement, and the intangible alignment that you were referring to as well. And then build those relationships. And, everything really gets serious when there's a deal on the table. You want to be as quick to getting a deal discussion on the table as possible. That's when it gets real. And the first deal that you do is going to be the hardest one. But once they see the results and the impact and the value enhancement that takes place as a result of you working with their client, they're going to be a whole lot more comfortable and willing to open up more doors.